Hi guys, I'm back. It's Monday, November something for Thanksgiving. So I promised my cranberry sauce recipe today, and I'm going to deliver that in just a little bit. But I thought I should maybe explain about my cooking experience in life. So I didn't actually really learn to cook till I was 40. Didn't have to. Um, when I started high school, my dad said I didn't need to take home ec because my mom could teach me everything I needed to know. The problem with that is my dad didn't take into account that my mother and I had very differing opinions of how to operate in life. And she was a clean as you go as you cook, and I'm a do everything and then clean afterwards, drove her nuts. So I just learned in my teen years to stay out of the kitchen. I learned to cook some very basic things. My grandmother's recipe for mac and cheese, tuna noodle casserole, and with a Foreman grill, I can do a pretty good burger or steak. But I didn't really need to know much because um, I had an apartment in my early 20s when I had a full time job. And then some stuff happened, and I ended up moving back in with my mom. And it was great. I had a full time job. I was 24. I had a full time job. And my mom said, "Hey, you don't need to worry about the cooking or the laundry. All you have to do is keep your own room clean, put your laundry away. And by the way, I paid for the car, so take me anywhere I want to go when I want to go." I thought it was a pretty good deal because she didn't charge me rent either. I paid for gas and insurance and groceries sometimes whenever she'd send me to the store without her to pay. So it was a pretty good deal. Didn't have to learn to cook. So I lived with my mom, and all those years she cooked cooked all my meals, did all my laundry. Cool deal. Anyway, 2000, I turned 40. My mom had a small stroke. And the day that she had the stroke, she actually was coming up out of our basement with a laundry basket, and she fell and she hurt her hip really badly. And she never really recovered from that. From then on, she used a cane. She wouldn't do the physical therapy she was supposed to do. So she never really came back from that. So first she used a cane, and then it was a walker. So obviously she couldn't stand at the stove and do any cooking anymore. So it became apparent if we were going to have balanced meals and she was going to eat well, I was going to have to learn to cook. So I thought, hey, if you can read, you can cook because there's cookbooks. And then I bought a cookbook, The Joy of Cooking. I love that cookbook because it has all these things for how to set fancy tables for dinner parties and all these really cool, neat recipes. And I watched the Food Network. Emeril Lagasse was one of my favorites, and I'd print recipes off of there and do things that I watched them do on TV. And I practiced for like a year, and I was getting pretty comfortable. So I decided in the summer of 2001, I decided to invite all our family to Thanksgiving dinner because they were always making fun of the fact that I didn't cook and I didn't know how. So I thought I'd show them. So I watched Emeril Lagasse and I learned how to brine a turkey. My mom said that turkey that year was one of the moistest, best turkeys she'd ever had. I learned how to roast pumpkin and make my own pumpkin puree for pumpkin pie. Even that year, I don't do it anymore, but that year I actually made pie crust. It wasn't that great, but it was pie crust. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't great either. I learned how to parboil yams so that I could make candied sweet potatoes and yams. Um, and then I decided I'd never liked that cranberry sauce, the one that comes in the can, you slick it out and it's cranberry jelly, and the texture was not something I liked. So I decided that we weren't having that at our dinner. We were going to have cranberry sauce. And I just happened to be walking through the book section at our local Fred Meyer, and I found the Bon Appetit holiday magazine. And it had a recipe for spiced cranberry sauce with Zinfandel. So that's the recipe you're going to see today. I filmed it last night and edited it last night, so it's not my best editing work. Usually I record way in advance and I have time to get it cut just perfectly as the way I want it. So it's not quite as good I also would like. I was using a new camera and a mic attached to it, so some of the sound is not as great as I would like. But hey, here's my recipe for spiced cranberry sauce.